episodes in. I cannot believe that I'm actually recording this episode because there's so many things that have happened over these last 100 episodes that I'm excited to share with you today. Because if you have ever thought of starting a podcast, starting a YouTube channel, doing something big, I want to share with you today the things that I have learned in the last 100 episodes that might help you in your journey. Okay, so let's get started. So I have 5 things that I have learned, and I think that they're all super important, so they're not in any specific order, but I think it's important to share with you all these different things that have happened to me over this last, year and 18 to 18 months. I mean, it's been a journey, my friends, for sure. The main thing in one of the very first episodes that I did on this podcast was all about batching. And batching can be your friend, because let me tell you that life happens. I mean, this just happened to me just a couple weeks ago when we had a freak snowstorm here in Washington. I couldn't get to my office to record any episodes, but luckily I had batch recorded 4 or 5. And what was so funny about it was in the beginning, I was like, oh, I don't feel like recording another one. I'll just go home. I'll come back, in a couple days and do it. And something told me, just record this episode. It's just another half an hour of work to just know that it's all done. And thank goodness that I had, because the storm happened, and luckily I didn't miss an episode because I had batch recorded all of them. So a couple tips if you're not familiar with batching episodes is you lay out your clothes, you get your hair and makeup done, and you sit down and record a whole bunch of episodes at one shot. Now, this does take quite a bit of work, not only getting ready for the episodes with hair, makeup, wardrobe, that kind of thing, but also in the fact that you're writing all these episodes ahead of time and you've got everything laid out so it's super organized. Now, that might be super awesome for you, but if you're someone who talks off the cuff, it might not be so great. But this is something that we've been doing for all of our guest episodes, because it's really hard to get so many amazing people to have our schedules line up. Everybody is busy these days, and especially with being able to do everything online and virtually, it's just made our schedules that much busier. So batching has saved us more than once, and I think it's one of the most important things to do if you're going to start on this journey of a podcast, a YouTube channel, any sort of social media platform. Make sure you batch. This one is probably my most favorite, is that the world is filled with helpers and supporters. And when you start on this journey, a lot of people will probably say, that's a really dumb idea. Why would you be doing that? Do you really have time to do that? Those are all things that I heard, but I knew that this podcast was meant to be. I know that I am called to be a mission-driven messenger, and I know that my life experiences can help other people. And the same is true for you. So if you're listening to this podcast and you know that you are meant to do more to help people, just know that there are supporters and helpers out there everywhere you turn. This podcast is not created alone. None of our social media is created alone. And I think the first step that you can do is to ask for help. Now, if your immediate circle doesn't have help, maybe they're not as supportive, just keep going. Knowing that there are people out there that will encourage you and help you and make sure that you get the information that you need is so important. Even just knowing that it's out there when you're facing all this criticism in the beginning about, you don't have time, it's a lot of work, how are you going to get the equipment, where are you going to record, all those questions that we tell ourselves that prevents us from moving forward. Just know that once you get past those things, there are so many people out there that want you to succeed, that can help you succeed. It's just been amazing. There have been so many helpers and so many supporters of me. Many of them you've heard on this podcast, but many more to come, because they too are mission-driven messengers and want to share their knowledge and expertise with you. So you haven't already, make sure that you're subscribed to this podcast on anything that you follow it, whether it might be Spotify or Amazon or iTunes. Wherever you're at, we're there too. And I'd love for you to jump on this journey with us going forward because there is so much more to come after this 100th episode. Number 3 kind of ties back into number 1, which was bashing. But this one is consistency is key. Like anything in life, whether it's exercise, eating well, whatever it might be, being consistent is the key to getting things done. And it is very hard when you're very busy running a business, managing a household, doing all the day-to-day stuff that you do to find time to add recording a podcast into all of it. But just know that you can find the time. It's just about moving some things around. You might try looking into schedule blocking. That's made a huge difference for me in making sure that this podcast gets recorded every single week and out to all of you. Number 4, just start. If you follow along on YouTube, any of your YouTubers that you follow on a regular basis, you know that the majority of them just say, just start. And it's true. And you have to know that those first episodes, those first videos, whatever the first that you are working on, just know that it's okay. It's gonna be cringy, and that's all right, because you'll be able to look back at that and see how far you've come. But I know that that really prevents people from moving forward. We are sometimes frozen in the fact that what if people think we're dorks? What if people laugh at us? All these what ifs, and you just have to set those aside and go for it. I know one of the things I never thought I would be here at 100 episodes. I thought that I would just go for it, see how things turned out, and just give up, midway. But I would see how it worked out. But now look where we're at. We have had so many amazing guests on this podcast. We're doing 2 episodes a week, which is crazy to me. Because if you had told me at the beginning of this journey that we were going to be pumping out 2 episodes a week, I probably would have told you were crazy. But look at us now. And I'm so excited for this podcast to continue to grow and reach more people and hopefully ultimately help more people. That's what this is about. And if I hadn't have started this journey, as rocky and rough and cringy as it might have been, we wouldn't be here. And the truth is, I wouldn't have met so many amazing people, wouldn't have so many amazing staff members that help me every single week with this podcast. I would have missed out on all those opportunities had I not went for it. And that's what I don't want you to miss out on it. If there is something that you have been thinking that you really want to do, but you're nervous about it, or scared, or just worried that it's not going to work, you just got to go for it. And you don't have to spend a ton of money. If you saw my setup in the very beginning in my bedroom, you'd be like, whoa, girl, really? You did this with that? It's pretty impressive. And just know that as things progress, you get better equipment, you learn so much more. There's so many more people that are out there to help you and support you and show you different ways to do things, different ways that you never even realized. I mean, I don't know if you've heard our introduction, the same intro, just remastered by the incredible gem, Ben, that I met through this podcast. And he has created something that sounds incredible. So don't be afraid to let things evolve and change and get better with time. Because just starting, the only place you can go is up. The 5th lesson I've learned, and probably one of the most important, is I've learned how to become a better listener. Think about it. In this social media age, so many of us are not really listening to the conversations that we have. We're just prepared to respond, or we're prepared to tell our story, share our things with that person who's having a conversation with us. And when you're podcasting, that's really difficult to do because you don't want to be jumping in over the top of someone else and here's my experience and what about this, because it's very disruptive for the person who's listening. So becoming a better listener has really been something that I've been working on since we added in guest episodes about a year ago. And it's been an amazing journey for me to just become a better listener. It's changed relationships. It's changed what I've been doing in Zoom calls too, because I think it's something that we forget. We forget to be good listeners. So I encourage you, whatever mode you're going to use, whether it's YouTube, social media, podcast, or just Zoom calls or in-person appointments, try to work on becoming a better listener. Listen, not to respond or reply, but just to listen to what that person is saying. I want to thank you for being here for all 100 episodes. I wouldn't be here without you. And I cannot wait until we release episode 500, because before I would have never thought that that would be possible. But now that we've crested episode 100, I know that it is possible. I'm excited to meet so many more people on this journey of podcasting, and I can't wait. But I want to make sure that you know how much I appreciate you, how much I appreciate you spending your time with me. I know that free time is a fleeting thing, and I appreciate you spending it with me.